Alright everybody, welcome back to yet again another video, and you read the title. We're taking a look at every single NHL Pro Tryout contract for the 2022-2023 NHL season. I don't have the exact count, but there's definitely a lot of names here, at least 50 different names that we're going to talk about. Now, obviously, we're not going to go, ridiculously in-depth with every single player, because some of these guys, let's face it, all due respect to them, they're not that big of players, so we really need to talk about them all too much, but we will touch base with pretty much every single team. There's a couple of teams that don't have any, and there's a couple of teams that have at most 5, so some interesting things to look at here. But anyways, if you're new to the channel and you have not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe down below if you are new. And by the way, timestamps will be down below if you want to see your certain team be listed, just so people leave who are fans of these teams, the teams that will not be listed and have no PTOs as of September 21st at 4:57 p.m. on the East Coast. Buffalo, Chicago, Dallas, Minnesota, St. Louis, Detroit, Nashville, New York, Pittsburgh, Tampa, Washington, and Winnipeg. So the Islanders are that one New York team that does not have a team, and I almost said Edmonton, but nope, they have, if I'm not mistaken, they have 2. But yes, those are the teams that do not have any pro trial contracts. So for those fans, have a good day. But anyways, for those who are sticking around, you can press the timestamps, skip around, or you can just watch the entire video. But anyways, I won't waste any more of your time. Let's get into it here. Starting off with the Anaheim Ducks. Now, I do need to keep track of, obviously, what time I start off with these. So we're going to do minute 40 for Anaheim. So I may need to stop a little bit here to kind of write down numbers. If you guys are okay with that, I hope you are. Anaheim has a total of, I think, 6, if I'm correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, they have 6 different pro trial contracts, and it looks like a lot of them are defenders. Starting off with the one they announced today, signing Rocco Grimaldi, a right winger, 29 years old, to a PTO, obviously coming from Nashville. They signed lefty/right D Nathan Billia, who is also 29 years old, to a pro trial contract. He's coming from Pittsburgh, but originally Winnipeg because of that one trade. Then you obviously have Nicholas Bouliard, another defenseman who is 27 years old. You have center Brent Gates, who is 25 years old. You have defenseman Josh Healy, who is 28 years old. And then you have left wing Dmitry Osipov, who is 25 years old. Now, a lot of these players aren't really just big-name guys like Bouliard, Healy, Gates, and Osipov. Obviously aren't players that people really know too well. Grimaldi and Billia are the 2 players I'm going to primarily focus on here for Anaheim. Obviously, Grimaldi had a good, solid season with Nashville. Nashville just didn't sign him, didn't give him a qualifying offer, and he's obviously up to Anaheim on that PTO. I could imagine he would make it on a team like Anaheim. Maybe he plays the role of a bottom 6 forward. I think he really could. And Nathan Billia, he had injury issues last season, and obviously Pittsburgh didn't re-sign him when they basically got him for a 7th-round pick, almost for free. But we'll see what he does with Anaheim. Obviously, he's still 29 years old. Maybe has some NHL time left in him. We'll see what he does. Obviously, for the other guys, they most likely don't make it. And I hate to criticize the big name or the little name players like that. But really, if we're being honest, those players, they honestly, usually they don't get signed to a contract. But maybe they do. Who knows? I'm not trying to doubt the team at all. Moving on here to the Arizona Coyotes. We're going to do 335 for them. Apologies. I know people did not come to see me list times. All right, but as for Arizona, they have 2 players as for a PTO. They have right wing Alex Chiasson, who is 31 years old, reunites with Zach Kassian, and then you have goaltender Chris Gibson, who is 29 years old. I think he's coming from the Tampa Bay Lightning. If I am correct, he could be coming from somewhere else, but I know him mostly from the Lightning. Obviously, Chiasson, 31 years old, coming to a team that obviously still rebuilding. Not the team that is one of the best teams in the world, definitely not. Obviously, he probably could make it if he has a good training camp and a good preseason. He very well could make it, but we'll see. And as for Chris Gibson, the Coyotes are kind of everywhere when it comes to goaltending options. We'll get to them when I do my goaltending tandems for this coming season. But obviously, Coyotes have a lot of goaltending questions. Gibson, if he does well in the preseason in some of the games he plays, he could very well make it. I very well think he could. As for the Boston Bruins, we're going to write down 440 here. The Bruins, they only have 1. They only have 1 PTO, and it is not really that big of a player. They have right wing / center Kelty Jerry Leon, who is 22 years old. Obviously, a right wing / a center. Really kind of was signed to this PTO because obviously Marchand's injured And I mean, I'm not saying he's going to come in and play first line, but it is good to have some depth. And I think that definitely, if he plays well in training camp, he could very well make it. We'll see. As for Buffalo, they have none. So Buffalo Sabres fans, I'm sorry. Kevin Adams signed a multi-year contract. That's the best you're really going to get. As for Calgary, I'm going to put 520. They have 3. As of right now on their PTO list, and they are 3 interestingly big-name players. You have center Cody Eakin, who is 31 years old, obviously coming from Buffalo. Then you have left wing / right wing Sonny Milano, who is 26 years old, coming from Anaheim. And then you have right D Michael Stone, who is 32 years old. Obviously was with the Flames last season, but they're just signing him to a PTO anyways. He probably does get re-signed, if we're being honest. He's a solid defender, and he looked good for Calgary this past year. But obviously, Cody Eakin kind of out of his prime, if we're being entirely too honest. We'll see what he does on a team like Calgary. Could provide some additional center depth. And then obviously a left wing / right wing Sonny Milano, a player that kind of a lot of teams need. And the reason why he wasn't signed by Calgary, I don't think, is because of the locker room chemistry. I think the rumors of toxicity in the locker room back in Anaheim with Zegras and all that, I think that's the reason why Milano was kind of not signed to a QO by Anaheim, and obviously is going to Calgary on this PTO. We shall see what comes there for Milano and the Flames, but if he plays well, he gets signed. If not, no risk, no return for Calgary. Nothing really there at all. And if he does get signed, it could be a very solid, bottom 6, 4th line, 3rd line forward. He could do pretty good on a team like Calgary. We'll see, though. As for the Carolina Hurricanes, we're going to put 645. They have a decent amount of PTOs. They're not, insanely big names, but they are some decently big numbers. Starting off here, you have 3. So you have left D / right D, Calvin DeHaan, who is 31 years old. We've seen rumors of DeHaan potentially going to Vancouver, but nope, Carolina sneaks in and signs him to a PTO. Obviously, Carolina lost some blue liners this past season in Tony DeAngelo and Ian Cole, but obviously they've got Brent Burns, and maybe Calvin DeHaan could be Ian Cole's replacement, maybe a third pairing or a depth defender. Wouldn't be all too bad, no risk there. You also have left defenseman Grigory Dronov, who is 24 years old, and then center Derek Stepan, who is 32 years old. Obviously there, no big deal for the... No big deal for Carolina, really. Stepan may get re-signed for some additional center depth, but Dronov, we'll see what he does. Maybe he plays well during the preseason, gets signed to a AHL contract. We shall see, though. Chicago has none. Moving on to Colorado, we'll put 745 here. Colorado only has 1, and it is Alex Galchenyuk, who is a left wing / center / right wing, and is 28 years old, coming out from Arizona. Now, a player who can play all positions is not a bad thing whatsoever. Galchenyuk, I thought, looked solid in Arizona in the season where a team wasn't really all too good. I thought he looked all right, and I think maybe he deserves to get a chance here with the Colorado Avalanche, maybe provide some additional center depth. And kind of like a guy like Ben Shore, if that's his name, the guy from Edmonton, he definitely can play all 3 positions, and I think that is a very useful player to have in the NHL. As for Columbus, I'm going to put 827. They have 4. So Columbus is one of those interesting teams where they actually have a lot of PTOs. And you think they all be minor players, but some of them are actually pretty interesting. You have lefty Ben Harper, who is 27 years old, coming from Nashville. You have center Liam Howell, who is 23 years old. You have right wing and left wing James Neal, who is 35 years old. And then you have center Victor Rask, who is 29 years old. Obviously there, you have Ben Harper, provide some additional defensive depth. And then guys like Howell, Neal, and Rask, obviously forwards. Howell, we'll see what he does. But as for James Neal, I'm pretty sure he got a PTO for St. Louis last year, if I'm correct. And obviously he's getting yet again another PTO. He's keeping his NHL career going. I thought he would retire, if we're being honest. I really did think he was going to be a player that would retire this coming offseason. But obviously I was wrong, and here he is. He's with Columbus this coming season for a PTO. We'll see how he does in the preseason. Obviously, Victor Rask has bounced around the league a little bit. We'll see what Rask can do with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Maybe he does well at the camp and provide some additional center depth for a team like CBJ, who could be on the rise this coming season. For 2 teams that don't have any PTOs are the Dallas Stars and the Detroit Red Wings. The Edmonton Oilers actually have 2, if I'm correct. So we'll see what Edmonton can obviously do with those PTOs. But they are defensemen. I don't know why I keep writing 4s wrong. But obviously, they have defenseman Jason Demers, who is 34 years old. And then you have right wing / left wing Jake Virtanen, who is 26 years old. Obviously pleaded not guilty of those sexual assault allegations. We'll see. And Virtanen is one of those players that's like, I mean, he could really pan out to be good, but he also could pan out to be bad. We'll see. I mean, Virtanen's kind of just that guy that's all over the place. People are saying he could be good, and I'm optimistic he could be. On a team with McDavid and Draisaitl and two of the best players in the world, he honestly could get carried and put up some good points. But he could be a player like Kane, but Kane has some actual skill. Virtanen, though, never really got a chance to prove himself. He had one solid season in Vancouver, and apart from that, he really just wasn't there. And then the allegations happened. There's a lot of people who do not like him. But obviously there, we'll see. And obviously for Jason Demers, Demers is obviously a really old defenseman. I don't even think he played last year, if I'm correct. I don't even think he did. I could be wrong. He could have played for some other team. Teams I'm thinking of are like Minnesota and Detroit, but Goligoski, I think, played for Minnesota. And I'm just thinking of the Coyotes blue line. As a Coyotes fan myself, I'm just thinking of those players in that blue line. But I don't think Demers has played on a team since 2021. So I could be wrong, though. But obviously there we shall see. Florida has 2 PTOs. Obviously, Florida, they had a lot of losses this past season, and obviously they're looking to improve. So we'll see how these PTOs do. But they are goaltender Jean-Francois Berube, who is 31 years old. Then you have center Eric Stahl, who is 37 years old. Stahl did not play last season at all. He was with the Montreal Canadiens when they made the Cup Finals, and then didn't play at all that past year. He did play for the Iowa Wild in the minor leagues, but he was never signed to a contract in Minnesota. But obviously there we shall see what Stahl can do with the Florida Panthers. He very well could make it. He's just that experienced of a forward. And then obviously he's joining his brother Mark Stahl, who was signed to a 1-year contract. If you're wondering where Andrew Hammond is, the other player who was signed to a PTO for Florida, he actually signed a contract out in Russia. So obviously he's not going to play in the NHL anymore. He just opted to go out to Russia, where basically it's really no risk. I mean, a PTO is kind of a risk. I mean, you don't know whether you're going to make it or not. At least when you sign a contract out there in Russia, and I know there's a lot of things going on there right now, but at least when you sign a contract anywhere else, you do have some certainty that you're going to play. And, I mean, that's something that I think a lot of NHL players think it's worth, and that's why players go and sign to Europe when they know that they're really not going to get that many NHL options out there, or they just want to play at home. Who knows? As for the LA Kings, they have one, and it is actually a really interesting one, and it is center Nate Thompson. Now, he is 37 years old, which is something really interesting there. Obviously, Thompson, older, more experienced veteran. He's played through dozens of teams. He was last played with Philadelphia. Obviously, that didn't work out, so he's going to get a PTO with the Los Angeles Kings. I personally liked Nate Thompson for a long time, and hopefully his career works out, and hopefully he gets signed to a contract with the LA Kings. But if he doesn't, in all honesty, sorry about that, it really wouldn't surprise me, if we're being entirely too honest here. Just to skip through a couple teams, thankfully. Minnesota has none. Montreal has none. Nashville has none. New Jersey, though, on the other hand, has 2. So New Jersey, obviously one of those teams that's looking to bounce back from the playoffs this past season. We shall see if they can make it. You have Thomas Hickey, left defenseman, who is 33 years old. Then you have right wing Zach Senyshyn, who is 25 years old. Hickey, obviously an old defenseman who's played with the Islanders. We'll see if he can make it out of camp with the Devils. And obviously a guy like Zach Senyshyn has bounced around the league a little bit. He's been with the Senators and the Bruins. Obviously was one of those first-round picks that the Bruins had in 2015 that didn't pan out to be the way he wanted them to. So obviously, he's trying to turn his NHL career around, and maybe he does well with New Jersey. Maybe he sees all the young potential with this team, and maybe he plays well. But we'll see, though. You look at the New York Islanders, they have none, and the New York Rangers, on the other hand, actually have 2. So the Rangers have right D Matt Bartkowski, who is 34 years old, and then you also have left wing / right wing Jimmy Vesey, who is 29 years old. Now, Bartkowski, defenseman, right D side. They obviously just lost Nils Lundkvist to the Dallas Stars. We shall see if Bartkowski maybe takes a spot as a depth player, playing a depth role, maybe solely an AHL forward, AHL defender. And then obviously Jimmy Vesey bounced around the league a little bit, absolutely. And obviously he's coming back to the Rangers on a PTO. We shall see, though, if Vesey will be able to pan out this time around with the New York Rangers. But, I mean, it could happen. It definitely very well could happen. But obviously there we shall see. Moving on here to the Ottawa Senators, they actually have 2. Ottawa has signed Derek Brassard, a left wing / center. Excuse me. Not talking for a while. Makes you want to cough. To a PTO. He's obviously 34 years old. And then they also have left wing Michael Dowcole, who is 26 years old, signed to a PTO. Brassard, that journeyman around the league, has played for so many teams over the past couple of years. Philadelphia, New York, Arizona, just so many different teams come to mind for Derek Brassard. Obviously, he's bounced around the league a lot. We shall see if he can play yet again another team, but he's also played on this team before, so we'll see if he does with Ottawa. But obviously, they're also Michael Dowcole. Dowcole never panned out the way the Islanders wanted him to. We'll see if he gets his shot to do so in Ottawa. Philadelphia, you have two. In Philadelphia, bad news just keeps seeming to come for him. Just everything is going so bad for Philadelphia the past couple of weeks. You have center / left wing Artemi Anisimov, who is 34 years old, signed to a pro tryout contract. Anisimov, interesting there. And then they also have left wing Antoine Roussel, who is 32 years old, to a PTO also. Now, he is also very interesting. We shall see if both of these players make it. Obviously, Roussel, that physical forward, has some controversy to him. Definitely a physical forward, kind of fits the Philadelphia motto, the Broad Street Bullies, so we shall see there. And then obviously Artemi Anisimov actually has some beef with Philadelphia dating back to like 2012. Obviously that was like 10 years ago. But still though, I kind of surprised me. I'm like, wow, they signed him to a PTO? Interesting. Pittsburgh, you have none. So nothing there for Pittsburgh. San Jose, you do have one PTO, and it is actually Scott Harrington. He's an interesting left defenseman there, 29 years old, coming out of Columbus. We shall see if he can pan out with the San Jose Sharks there, obviously. As for Seattle, you only have one as well, and it is actually, you actually have one there, and it is Daniel Sprong. So we shall see there. Oopsies, I did it again. I keep doing this every single time. I keep forgetting that Seattle exists, and I keep forgetting to include them in my depth charts. I'm still doing it even though they've been in the league for like a year now. Obviously, there, next up for the St. Louis Blues, you have one, and that is Tyler Pitlick. Pitlick, obviously, interesting forward, has bounced around the league a little bit as well. Philadelphia, Seattle, Calgary, Arizona, has been around the league a lot. We'll see if Pitlick can get another shot here with St. Louis and try to prove himself. For Tampa, you have none, so sorry, Tampa fans. Hopefully you guys make it to the Cup Finals for a 4th straight year. And then as for Toronto, you have two. So let's see what Toronto can do with these PTOs. They are Zach Aston Reese, who is 28 years old, coming out of Anaheim, a left wing / right wing. And then you have goaltender Dylan Ferguson, who is 23 years old. We'll see what Zach Aston Reese can do here with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously came from Anaheim. Really solid forward. Played well with Anaheim and Pittsburgh. Been a big fan of him for a long time. We shall see what he can do. So moving on here to the Vancouver Canucks, you actually have only one for Vancouver, and it is Danny Kaiser, who is 32 years old. Obviously, the Canucks wanted to add some additional depth to their blue line, and it looks like they finally got that in Danny DeKaiser. We'll see if DeKaiser can play while out of camp, and then they'll eventually sign him to a PTO, but obviously they wanted Calvin DeHaan. Unfortunately, they couldn't get him. And last but not least, the only team that actually has another PTO now is the Vegas Golden Knights, and it is only one, and it is William Riedel, who is 25 years old. Obviously not that really big of a name player, not that big of a name whatsoever. We'll see what the lefty can do out of training camp. And then obviously Washington has none, and Winnipeg has none at the time of recording this video. That'll do it for the 2022-2023 NHL PTO list. Apologies for sometimes me cutting out there. I had to take notes and keep track of times. And then obviously there as well, and I apologize for coughing. Sometimes you get pretty dry here when you're talking for so long. But anyways, we did that in about 20 minutes. Wasn't so bad. I've done way longer type of videos on this channel. I'm definitely going to do way longer type of videos before the season comes. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching. For our support today, I really do appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe down below if you are new. And anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.